Hi, this is Jade Harrell, host and producer of Sunday Morning Live, and you're listening to the Sunday Morning Live podcast, a chance to get what you missed. Sunday Morning Live is a public affairs program designed to provide our listeners the latest information, news, and issues of concern for the St. Louis community, the nation, and the world. For booking information, questions, ideas, or comments, please contact me at 314-333-8369 or jade@clearchannel.com.
The all-new Magic 100.3 is KMJM-FM, Bridgeton, St. Louis, an iHeart radio station. The views and opinions of the following show are not necessarily views and opinions of Clear Channel Media Entertainment, its staff, or management. We're addressing the issues that affect your family, the issues that impact St. Louis. It's Sunday Morning Live with your host, Jade Harrell, on the all-new Magic 100.3.
To commend or to praise something or someone with a loud voice, with a loud exuberant voice. So therefore we come right now to Shabbat the Lord, our God.
In addition to Shabbaking the Lord, we are very pleased to Shabbat with a loud voice. The organization that has been helping families and children for 126 years. Wow. You know, you can identify a tree by its fruit, it says in the Bible. And most certainly you can see it with Annie Malone, Family and Children's Services. And I am joined this morning by the director, the executive in charge, the HBIC. Good morning to you, Darryl Wise.
Good morning. How are you, Jay?
Fantastic. Shabakless. Oh, my goodness. When you told me 126 years, I have to find the sound effects for applause because that is no slight feat. And, man, we have had the need for so long.
Right.
And you all have been there.
Been there.
Well, I am certainly glad to have you in here. Tell me about what that means to you. How have things been going since you've been in the seat? I remember you coming on and we were making the announcement not too long ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it has been a very interesting transition, as they say.
That's a key word.
Right. Even though I've been with the agency 7 years, mm-hmm. and I came up through the ranks, so to speak, through the programmatic side mm-hmm. of the agency. So I felt I was pretty prepared to take over as chief executive. However, as the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know.
Wow, how about that?
And so being in the seat is a lot different than wanting to be in the seat. I'll put it that way. So it has been a learning process. I spent a lot of time in 2013 just learning about being a chief executive, learning about resource development and fundraising, sure. which has become a major kind of part of my new role. Mm-hmm. And just learning those processes and learning how to constantly reach out and touch and stay in touch with the community and stakeholders and mm-hmm. kind of continuing to let them know where we are and what we're doing. Sure. And that's kind of where our focus is since 2014, is to let the community know that Annie Malone Children Family Service Center is as viable in 2014 as we were in 1888, mm-hmm. and that we are always there to try to adjust and work with the community in whatever serious needs they have. And these days it is decreasing chronic youth homelessness, preventing child abuse and neglect, and educating our children, our students with learning and behavioral disabilities.
Oh,
that is our
goodness.
focus.
So, well, how fortunate for you that you knew the story well, mm-hmm. coming from the program side. Where did you start, Darryl?
I started as coordinator of quality assurance. So it was my role to come in and look at the programs and develop what we call measurable outcomes. Mm-hmm. So I had to look at each program, our residential, parenting, daycare at the time, mm-hmm. and develop outcomes, measurable outcomes, so that we could see when youth started at our program at a certain point where they were, and then when they left, what point they were at, so Certainly. We can show that, there was some measure of improvement.
Sure. Now, what was that measure? Because as we look at the issues you mentioned today, youth homelessness is sad, but child abuse and neglect in the other area as well.
students with learning and behavioral disabilities.
Exactly. So how do we measure today?
Well,
how do the programs look
with the students with learning disabilities? Of course, those were pretty simple because you have report cards. So we can measure attendance records and report cards. And for us, it was a simple matter because they came to us because they were not able to make it in a regular school environment, in a regular special education session. So with our school being smaller school, smaller student-teacher ratios, we're able to offer some occupational speech therapy, some counseling. So we were able to address some of those issues right on. And our goal was to try to at least raise their reading and math levels by at least one grade level.
Now, why was that the goal? How does that make a difference? What impact does that have for a child in school?
Well, one thing, the reading strictly affects, and I'll say math as well, but reading really affects behavior. A lot of times children act out when they're asked to do something in class, when they're asked to read out loud and they can't read and they don't want to be made fun of, so they began to act out. So reading is like a key measure in a lot of things when dealing with special education.
So when you take that on, you want to address several other issues.
And then math is another key area to where you really want to make sure that children have a basic foundation of the math, because it really is in everything. You know, I as a coordinator of quality assurance, I found that out because a lot of what we did was dealing with statistics, you know, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm back to this. You know, didn't want to do the statistics in college and graduate school, but it caught up with me.
There's a lesson and moral in that story, isn't it?
So things catch up with you. So, but the math is always a permanent part of the story as well. And then preventing child abuse and neglect is always been at the core of either residential services or crisis care as we do it today. And what we try to do is, as children enter our programs with the parents, we work with them and we check back later to make sure that they haven't had any substantiated child abuse reports done within 6 months, a year, and 18 months. Okay. So we try to, that's the way we prevent those. So those
trying
are the
to get
measures
things solid back at home. And I do recall that when we talk about the crisis nursery and the not crisis nursery per se, but you
crisis care program,
which addresses and helps parents before they even get to that abuse point and help them deal with some of the issues and the levels that rise and the escalation of those matters. I thought that was very admirable. But again, you're taking on one area that will then impact several others. Right. And then making sure that they're on track 6 months, 12, and 18 months thereafter is also key.
And we also make sure that they get to school, because that's a key point. One of the things that differentiates our crisis care program from others is that we transport to and from school. So if they're in school, we make sure that they get to school, because they shouldn't have to suffer because their parents are having some type of issue. And I mean, being out of school 5 to 10 days, that could be hard to come back from. So we try to make sure that they get there and that they're able to continue their studies.
Among other challenges. Now, you mentioned that at your school, you have did I not know after all this time that you have a school?
We have a school.
A flat
we have
school.
We're a contractor with St. Louis Public Schools to provide special education services with the school, the city of St. Louis.
That is impressive. See, these are the reasons why we have the program, but that we also have you all come on, because I mean, we might catch a brochure here or there, and you know, we all know about the parade, but to know at what you do on a day-to-day basis and what the extent of the programs and resources are. It takes moments like that. I feel like I just had an aha moment. So now you're on the you're behind the main desk now. You were able to measure the programs there.
Yes.
How do things measure up from the leadership perspective? Do you see that things differently, and then how are they working out for you?
Well, for me, this last year we were measuring. we measured a lot of things as far as outputs, which means strictly numbers. So numbers of clients we served.
Okay.
And so
How many,
we were trying.
by the way?
Last year we serviced 1,124 clients in our major 4 programs, which was a dramatic increase. That includes children.
That's a lot.
And so 826 in the crisis care program, 239 in parenting, 53 in the school, and 26 in transitional living.
And that's our youth homelessness.
And so we worked with that. So that was strictly from a numbers point.
Wow.
Now, as far as parenting, for crisis care, we look at one of the things we measure also is reduction in parental stress. So when the parents come in and with the children, we provide them a stress indicator or assessment, and then when they come to pick them up, we provide them with another, and then we compare the two.
Okay, you can come to my house for that one.
And so so our parents did the decrease in stress. And unfortunately, I don't have those numbers, but we have a positive there. Over 80% of the parents, over the 80% of the numbers we had showed a decrease in their parental stress by participating in the program.
So it's working.
It is working.
Okay, that's
we're
what
having
we need
impact.
to know.
Right.
Exactly. The numbers were speaking volumes, though, first of all. And then as I briefly kind of scanned through it, because no, I wasn't a stats champion, but your greatest numbers were within the crisis care.
Right.
So that's where we needed some serious impact.
The serious impact, and then that program it includes crisis care, which is the program for children who are not in the system. But that program also includes crisis care and emergency residential placement for those children who are already in the system and their placement has been disrupted, and they come to us as well.
So help me understand that. Already in the system, and then what happens?
That means when I say already in the system, they are a part of the state. The state has taken custody of their guardianship. The parents have shown to be, not efficient enough to care for the children, so the state has taken over. And so sometimes these children, they come to us because they were maybe in a foster home, or they were in another residential facility.
Oh man! And then in turn, they had to deal with something else.
They have run away, or their placement has been disrupted, and they wind up with us for a period of time until another placement is found.
So just one thing compounding on the other.
Right.
Now,
and then with juvenile court.
Yes.
So we have other contracts, juvenile court, for them as well. So, but it's all wrapped into our residential services.
I get that.
Which is crisis
I get
care.
that. So then, would some of that also then spill into this youth homelessness that you mentioned as another area of focus?
Most definitely, because a lot of the youth homelessness program is part of what we call transitional living, and these are a lot of times they are students who have from 16 to 21. They have are about to age out of the system, and many times they age out without those life skills needed to become a self-sufficient adult.
Right.
So when they're 18 and they've been in the system since they were 9, they're just begging to get out. Just let me out. I can do this on my own. I don't need the state. I don't need, all this hassle. Sure. I don't need no case manager. Just let me out.
Can you blame them?
Right.
Can you
and
blame
then
them?
when they get off, they also realize that once they leave, or they are emancipated, as the state terminology, that means that no Medicaid, no other support, the support they were getting from the state, all of that terminates as well. So a lot of times they come into those they leave or emancipated,
but they don't
and now
have
they don't have the necessary skills or the support, so they end up staying from friends, couch surfing from time to time, staying with a friend till the friend get tired of them. They put them out. They go live with another person until they get tired. They get put out, and so they bounce around couch surfing until finally, hopefully, they'll wind up with an agency like ours who can help them get back on the right track.
Well, see, that's one example of how you don't know what a young person is going through when you see them, and at the point in time that you do see them, what they've been dealing with.
Right.
You just have no idea, because that sounds awful. It's already tough enough becoming a young adult, and then if you've already come up through a bunch of hardship, and disorder.
Right.
And then you got to try to figure out, well, now what do I do? And I haven't learned how to do nothing.
Right.
Except for what?
And you think, I mean, 'cause when I was 18, I know I might have thought I could make it on my own,
Right.
but come on now.
Right.
You know, you really...
Let me tell you how quickly I ran back home. Because I did try. I'm like, well, I could do this on my own. I was back at that door before you could say, baby, I missed you.
The streets don't play.
They don't. And today's streets are a whole nother story.
Oh, a whole nother story. Yes.
Well, Darryl, I know I went all off into the depth of this, but I think that was what our goal is, to really understand what you're doing and why you're still so viable and necessary and important for us. And I can't wait to come back for you to share more and talk about what your plans are and how we can connect, how we can support, how we can do our part in making sure that the care is there and you're able to do what you do on a continuous basis.
Most definitely.
All right, we'll be right back. This is Magic 100.3. It is with great pleasure that I am joined today by Darryl Wise, the Chief Executive Officer of MALONE Children and Family Services. I always put in the other order sometimes. Now, see, when I had the other organizations, I was hard-pressed not to put the babies first, but that's kind of where my heart is. Darryl, it's just tremendous, the work that you are doing. Please tell me more about the new MALONE, what you guys are doing.
Well, this year we are adding 2 new sections to our parenting education program. We've started a new, what's called a nurturing parenting curriculum, and
Nice.
we've always done parenting education. However, we have not always had funding for that.
And you got funding now.
We got funding now, so
Bravo.
that's a good thing.
Well, let me make sure that everybody knows that you the call-in number now is 556-6100, and I say that with a laugh, but seriously, for parents and things to help us with this serious, heavy task is to have some courses, some directions, some things to help us, because we're dealing with things today that we never ever saw before.
I never thought about.
Well, how about, right. So the
Never
call,
thought about
you
that.
have access to this CEO at 556-6100, 556-6100. The phone lines are open if you have any questions as well as we go forward.
Okay. So our first program is called our community-based parenting program, and that program is held at our main location, 2612 MALONE Drive, the administrative building. And it is a 10-week course, and it focuses on a variety of issues such as understanding feelings, alternatives to spanking, communicating with
there's
respect.
alternatives?
There's alternatives to spanking, building self-worth in children, praising children and their behavior. So there's just a variety of topics. As I said, there are 10 individual sessions, and that the next course begins April 8th.
Okay. Oh, okay. Right around the corner.
April 8th, yes. We're winding up the first session. The first session started in January, and so we had a little weather issue. So I think this Tuesday is the final course of the first section, and so the second session begins April 8th.
And you're not full, so you have some
We're
openings
not full.
now, and
We
it's
have
not too
openings
late
now.
to sign up.
They can call 531-0120 and tell them they want to sign up for the parenting class.
Okay.
And then we will direct you to which one, because we also have one that we're running at the John C. Murphy, or the new center in Berkeley, St. Louis County.
Yes.
And we run that for infants and toddlers. It's parenting for parents with infants and toddlers, and that is a 16-week course. And it's Tuesday mornings, 10 to 12:30. And that course is going on now. So but if they need to call, still need to call and sign up.
Right.
Which is 531-0120. And then in May, we are starting a parents with adolescents workshop
yes.
at the Pine Lawn facility, North Central location, St. Louis County, on Jennings Station
Great
Road.
place for that.
And that will be a Wednesday evening, 3:30 to 5:30, if I'm remembering correctly. But 531-0120
That'll
can get you all that
where you
information.
Okay.
So, yes, like I said, we were fortunate enough to get funds from the St. Louis County Children's Services Fund
Nice.
to to fund this program. So for St. Louis County residents,
that would make sense, and that makes sense in their bottom line, their results. That should impact their numbers, I would imagine. And I really appreciate this continuum of care, because what you're doing, starting with the infants and toddlers, then we could start working toward Head Start and some other things, parents as teachers, and we could start closing the gap on some of these issues.
Most definitely.
Love it.
And then that affects, of course, the educational piece. So it all flows into it.
All right. What else we got?
We also have transitional living. Our transitional living program is where we work with youth 16 to 21, and it's that chronic homelessness piece. And we're trying to teach them life skills. Well, we're trying to avoid the chronic homelessness, but
we've got some high numbers out here.
Very high numbers. There are probably around what's the phrase? I'm about to lose my statistics here, but what was it? I want to say 9,300 youth are in the child welfare system at any given time. And every year, a number of those age out. And a lot of them age out, like I said, without the necessary skills to be able to make it on their own. So they wind up homeless.
Yeah, and on their own.
And so our role is to try to get them in our program, teach them those independent life skills, financial literacy, workforce development, how to fill out a job application, how to write a resume, how to cook.
How about that?
How to clean,
you cover that.
Budgeting. We cover all of those things.
So you've got some funding with that. So if we see some young people, we know some young people, we can bring them on your way.
You can refer them to us, yes.
Does that need to be a call, or do we come to the door?
They can call 531, I'll take that back, call 361. 361-1122.
361-1122 is the number for that. All right. Teens in Transition. I'm writing it down so that I can also make that available as we have discovered it and put it on our Sunday Morning Live Facebook page, Facebook page, as well as the Sunday Morning Live page at kmjm.com.
Right. And then there's crisis care and emergency placements. And crisis care, like I said, is for children for whose parents are experiencing an unforeseen circumstance. And a lot of times people think of it as parents not getting along or parental-child conflict, which is not always the case. I mean, sometimes it's just a simple case of we had a mother who had to have hernia surgery, but she didn't have any community support. And part of her recovery was that she couldn't lift more than 10 pounds, but she had twin daughters. They were two.
Oh, wow.
So she couldn't, go to the surgery and not recover, not play with and interact with her daughters.
That's right.
So she brought her daughters to us. We care for them. She went and had her surgery, recovered, and then she was able to come back and get her daughters. Everybody's safe and sound and able to interact.
Look at that.
So it's a resource for not only for parents, like I said, with those serious issues, but with for people who just need a break every now and then, who happen to who don't have the community support that many of us take for granted because we have family and friends that we can rely on.
Who knew? Annie Malone, way more than marching in a parade.
More
but you got to give us a
heads
up. Right. So, but what is the heads up for the parade? Give
May
us a quick,
18th,
all right.
2014.
Lock it in. Save
Lock
the date.
Lock it in, May 18th.
Where are you guys going to be this year?
Downtown St. Louis and 20th and Market all the way to Kena Plaza.
Okay.
And so we're rocking. We just ended we just ended a little special. Friday the 28th, we had a 15% discount for registration.
Oh, wow.
So that
I missed that. Put me
come
in
on
that.
out.
Yeah.
Come on out.
Get me up there in the stands, though. I will serve with you and would be more than happy and honored to do so. Darryl Wise, CEO of Annie Malone, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you for having me.
It's my great pleasure. I'll post this interview for you guys to check out again after the show, and it's time to turn our focus to health with Rose Troop. The good Lord wills that I'll see you right back here next time, so take care. Sunday Morning Live has been a cornerstone of the St. Louis community for over 30 years. In-studio guests include community organizations, political experts, professionals, and celebrities. Sunday Morning Live gives listeners the opportunity to dialogue with our guests and express their opinions. Take part, share your voice, and become connected. Be sure to check out our blog at kmjm.com, keyword Sunday Morning. Like us and follow us on Facebook at SMLSTL and keep the conversation going. Sunday Morning Live on Magic 100.3.
You've been listening to Sunday Morning Live, a public affairs program of the all-new Magic 100.3. The views and opinions of today's show were not necessarily the views and opinions of Clear Channel Media and Entertainment, its staff or management. Thank you for listening.